So today I'm here with Titleist Ambassador Jack Yetton, one of our PGA professionals here at AFGolfStore, and we're going to look at my irons, the Titleist T100S, to make sure that they're right for me. What we're going to do is going to have a quick look at lie angle. So a couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to mark up a golf ball, line on the ball. I'm going to set it up. All I want you to do is hit it. We're just going to look to see how that club's interacting with the turf and how it's going to affect ball flight. Okay. So why do we use a line on the ball? So I use a line on the ball from a visual perspective. One for you, one for me. We want that line going straight up the face. It's going to indicate where we strike it on the face and basically how that sole of the club is interacting with the floor. So from our perspective as fitters and retailers, we obviously have. Is there any other methods that we could use to measure lie angle? Because obviously we don't use lines all the time. Is there any other methods that maybe we could use? Yeah, 100%. We've got lie board. Okay. So lie board would indicate how that sole's interacting with the floor. I like to do it slightly differently, and what we do here at AF Golf is we actually start to film some of your shots. Okay. So all I want you to do is hit a couple of shots. I'm going to come behind you here, and I'm going to film. How did that feel? Pretty good. Bit thin. Bit thin, bit clean. So instantly we've got that visual on the face. Can you see? We want to try and get this line going straight up the face. If it's at a slight angle, it would suggest that this lie angle is going to be slightly off. And then with this lie angle slightly off, it's going to affect ball flight direction. Now one of the things that I noticed straight away is that's a little bit more towards the heel for me. What's that going to kind of, anything you're reading from that? Consistency more than anything. Okay. If they're all out the heel, then that's a little bit to do with how you attack the golf ball. So it's my fault. A little bit. A little bit. Okay. Secondary part, you mentioned, okay, how are we looking at the lie angle? So here you can see our setup. And this is really important when we look at static measurements versus dynamic measurements. Static at the golf ball at the time. We can see, if anything, it looks like that toe's a little bit in the air, doesn't it? Yes. But you can see, as we start to work through the ball, let me just speed that up, or come into impact. You can now see when we strike that ball, face is pretty much square on the floor. Okay, so that suggests from a lie angle perspective, I'm quite happy with that. One, the line's pretty straight up the face. Two, when we interact with the floor, it's nice and square. Okay. Is there anything else that could affect lie angle or the way that club has moved into the golf ball? Or are you pretty comfortable it's just lie angle? Well, there's lots of contributors to lie angle. I mean, you've got shaft, what shaft's in there, you've got shaft droop, so how that shaft bends, you've got the length of the golf club, which I think that's a really interesting one. So shaft droop, what do you explain shaft droop as? So, I'm not sure whether we can see it here on the video, but basically when the club comes into the ball, okay, depending on the shaft, how light or how heavy the shaft is going to bend slightly. Okay. So it basically drops that toe in. Different to flex, right? A little bit of flex, yeah. I mean, it's flexing, isn't it? But it's flexing in a different way. Correct. When we strike the ball, shaft's going to flex this way to try and square out the face. Okay. But depending how heavy or how soft the shaft is, we're also going to get the shaft to bend this way. Which then, if you look what happens to the toe, brings that toe down. So that's why it's so important throughout the whole fit that when we get your exact spec, we're checking this lie angle, we're checking the length, we're checking the sentence to strike. Okay, cool. Should we get another one? Let's get another one. Let me just draw that line on the face to double check. So if this lie was wrong, so if you saw something on that camera that you didn't like, and you saw some data that you didn't like, and the line was wonky, like you say. Yep. What can I, as a golfer, what can I do about it? Because I've just bought these irons. Yep. Yeah, they're lovely irons. I like them. The lie angle's absolutely fine. What can I do about it? It's great. Well, what we can do, and the other part of what I do, is the building side. At our workshop, we have a Lofted line machine, so you can come and see us. We'll make sure you've got the right lie, and then we can take it back to our workshop to make sure we get them and bend them accordingly. So basically we've got a machine, the bar goes straight down on the hosel, and we can bend it about 1 or 2 degrees each way. Okay. So one of the things that I've always concerned myself with is that when we do a fitting and when we see a fitting, and from my perspective when we're training our staff, I do get a little bit concerned that we do this blanket 1 degree upright or 2 degrees upright. Do you notice that maybe in the longer irons or the shorter irons they need to be slightly different? They almost need to be graded? Is there a difference for the wedges, for example, than the standard irons?
100%, 100%, and that's why when you get your new set of golf clubs, you should come and see us for a Loft and Lie, so we can make sure every club's performing as it should. The long irons, because it's a longer shaft, we might start to see that toe droop, a bit like I showed you on the shaft aspect.
Because it's longer?
Because it's longer,
yeah.
Okay. But then with the shorter clubs, if you're hitting a variance of shots, so you're getting closer, you're hitting half shots, we might want to change that line angle so it's a little bit more upright. Because the toe can be digging in because we're closer and we're not hitting that full shot.
And what about the kind of lofted wedges? So you get into these 52, obviously it wouldn't match in with my set, but maybe look at the Vokeys. If I had a 52 or 58, would you like to see that a little bit more flatter or a little bit more upright? Where would you like to see that for most golfers?
It really depends on what the golfer's trying to achieve. How he sets up to the golf ball, how that club interacts with the turf.
Does grind play an element into that?
Not so much.
Okay.
Not so much. Again, the grind on the back of the golf club is all about trying to interact with the turf and how steep or how you deliver that club in. Okay, whether you like to open or close the blade.
Okay.
But there's not one lie angle is set for the whole set of golf clubs.
Oh, strike. A little bit high on the face, but
okay.
We could get you in there in the camera. We're pretty vertical.
We can see it's vertical. We can see it straight up the face. So from a lie angle perspective, it looks good. One thing that would suggest that we've got a little bit of movement left and right in the strike. Maybe the shaft's not quite strong enough for us, and then that would be a different element of the fit that we go into.
Okay. So there we have it, guys. Little bit, 5-10 minutes there with Jack, and immediately I noticed that the lie angle on this club is absolutely perfect for me, but there may be an inconsistency in the shaft, there may be an inconsistency in me, in my swing, so I may be booking a lesson shortly, but getting the lie angle, there's lots more important factors to lie angle rather than just measuring it and that'll do. So you can hear there Jack talk about shaft, talk about head, making sure that we get all of those factors in, but they can play a key part in the direction of the golf ball.